I will never forget the first time I saw her at night. It still haunts me. The way she moved, the way her shadow stretched longer than it should, the way the wind stopped blowing when she stepped outside. I should have never looked out my window that night. The beginning. My name is Bala, and I live in a small village called Zangoro. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other, where children run around barefoot, and elders sit under the big mango tree, telling stories. Life was simple, peaceful, until she arrived. Her name was Hajara. She came to the village one rainy season. No one knew exactly where she was from. An old woman, a dama, said she had seen her before, years ago, in another village. But when we asked what she meant, she just shook her head and whispered, "She is not one of us." Hajara was beautiful, not just in the way that makes men turn their heads, but in a way that made people uneasy. Her skin was too smooth, her eyes too sharp, her smile too perfect. The kind of beauty that feels unnatural. She lived alone in a small hut near the forest. During the day, she was quiet but kind. She sold herbs in the market, helped old women carry their baskets, and never caused trouble. But at night, everything changed. The first warning. I first noticed something strange when my uncle, Musa, warned me never to walk near Hajara's hut after sunset. "If you value your life, Bala, stay away," he said. I laughed. "Why? Do you think she's a witch?" He didn't laugh. He just looked at me with tired eyes and whispered, "You don't want to know." That should have been enough for me. But I was young, curious, and foolish. The night. Everything changed. One night I couldn't sleep. The air was too hot and the sound of crickets filled my ears. I got up to get some water, but then I heard it. A strange humming sound. It was soft at first, almost like singing, but there were no words. Just a low, eerie hum that sent chills down my spine. I looked out the window, and I saw her. Hajara was standing outside her hut, but she wasn't alone. There were shadows around her, not people, not animals, just shadows, moving and shifting like they were alive. And then she did something that made my blood run cold. She stepped forward, and her feet didn't touch the ground. She floated, just a little, just enough for me to know that what I was seeing was not normal. I covered my mouth to stop myself from gasping, but she must have heard me. Her head snapped in my direction. I dropped to the floor, heart pounding. Had she seen me? I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just lay there, hoping she would go away. Minutes passed. Then, silence. I slowly crawled back to my bed, pulling the blanket over my head like a child. But I knew what I had seen, and I knew I would never look at Hajara the same way again. The village. Fear. The next morning, I told my uncle what I saw. His face went pale. "You fool," he whispered. "You should have never looked." I begged him to explain, but he refused. "Stay away from her, Bala, and pray she didn't see you." That day, I watched the villagers more closely. I noticed how they avoided Hajara when the sun started to set. How the market women packed up their goods early, whispering to each other. I even saw Adama, the oldest woman in the village, sprinkling something outside her hut while mumbling prayers under her breath. No one spoke about it, but everyone knew. Everyone was afraid of what Hajara became at night. The disappearance. One evening, a man named Danjuma, one of the young hunters, got drunk. He laughed at the stories about Hajara. "You are all cowards," he shouted. She's just a woman. Watch. I will prove it." Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed his machete and marched toward Hajara's hut. He never came back. The next morning, we found his machete in the middle of the road. But there was no blood, no footprints, no sign of struggle, just silence. That was the last time anyone dared to question the truth about Hajara. The final night. I don't know why she spared me. Maybe she never saw me that night. Maybe she did, but she didn't care. All I know is, one day, she was gone. Just like that. No goodbyes, no explanations, just an empty hut with the door swinging open. Some say she moved to another village. Others say she was never really human to begin with. But I will tell you this, no matter where she went, I know one thing for sure. Somewhere, in some village, someone else is hearing that same humming sound at night, and they will learn, just like we did, some secrets are better left alone.